Go around a room and ask musicians and film people alike about their favorite film score. They might say Hans Zimmer, Michael Giacchino, or Thomas Newman. However, ask literally anybody about the most memorable film scores of all time. Chances are it's going to be something by John Williams. While regarded as one of the best, if not the most influential film scores of all time, this man single-handedly defined, and still does to a degree, the modern industry of film scoring. His net worth does most of the talking, being at least $300 million, giving proof to his highly decorated career of working on 8 of the top 25 highest-grossing film scores of all time, such as Jurassic Park, the original Star Wars, E.T., Harry Potter, etc. One quick disclaimer before the start of this video. I look at all of this stuff from a pretty critical perspective, in the sense that I am viewing it as the same I'd view a real piece, such as something by Ralph Vaughan Williams or Glenikoff. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. No doubt this man is important, but something has been interesting to me for a long time now. John Williams, the single greatest film scorer of modern cinema, is complete and utter garbage. Now this might be a bit extreme. The man has created some of the most memorable melodies in film history, I get it. But speaking from the film scoring world, and even towards the broader spectrum of music as a whole, John Williams isn't that talented of a composer. The man can only play piano, and he has other people, at least part of the time, orchestrate his melodies that come from the piano, that he plays himself. My analogy is this. Looking at a website like DeviantArt or something similar, you find a lot of art. I put this in quotation marks not because the creators aren't talented or haven't put hundreds, if not thousands of hours into perfecting their craft, but rather as a true definition of art in the denotative sense. Although I'm a strong believer of the idea that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, in this case, I believe you can separate the connotative and denotative form of visual art entirely. To be as much of a snob as possible, I'm going to focus on two often intermixed forms of art definitions. I will contextualize this with film scoring in a minute. The discussion between illustration versus art is not discussed enough in the art community, with a lot of people drawing a character and calling it art rather than an illustration. And this is totally fine. In the connotative sense, pictures of your own characters in visual art form are most certainly art. However, in the denotative form, meaning like the true definition, it really isn't art. Visual art is like literature. It must have an established medium of getting what it wants to say across, whether that being setting in romance or impressionism, or more austere and deeper level forms of emotional expression, being mood and tone. Tone especially during the era of, say, expressionism. Contemporary art, although nigh meaningless, still has something the creator is trying to convey, and it is meant to either be purposefully confusing or actually lead the viewer to an emotional understanding of the work. Going back to a site like DeviantArt, none of these images really have a sense of mood or tone. Even Romanticism, which used setting to carry a lot of its mood and tone, does a better job of conveying its purpose than a drawing of a character on a flat white background. This is why I define works like this as illustrations rather than art. Keyword define really being denotative once again. However, when using an in-depth visual and emotional analysis of these works, none of these images truly classify as art. And again, this is not me writing a hate letter to people who make furry art or anime art or anything like that, rather just a way of me classifying what is really art, so there's a greater level of context for what comes next, being film scoring. The art of film scoring has been around for nearing a century now, with incidental music playing a major role in plays and operas, beginning in ancient Greece, all the way through to today. However, something film scoring does that the other forms of music never did, is making the background track to a movie just that, a background track. Many of the most famous plays and operas use music as another tool to cross the emotional barrier and create a multi-sensory experience for the viewer. Some film scores do this well, like Hans Zimmer, who scored to Interstellar, does a fantastic job of getting an emotion across. It is indeed helped along with the emotional context of the movie, but the music certainly plays a key reciprocal role in that. Even Giacchino, a man I believe to be quite generic, does a pretty decent job at pulling the emotional line, although it does kind of drag its feet compared to something that Hans Zimmer would make. John Williams, however, is none of these. Although his scores are ridiculously well known, none are particularly well made in my opinion. Sure, these melodies are catchy, they sound nice, but like, what does it add? Maybe it makes you feel excited or sad, but those are surface level emotions, one that are the easiest to tap into. If a film score tries to evoke emotions like this, they're most likely just riding off the emotional piggyback that the actual visual aspect of the movie provides, rather than supplementing it with emotional contrast or deeper levels of total musical separation, which is often done in opera, in the sense that a composer and a librettist of an opera often work separate and then work together later. For example, what emotions do you feel when you hear this, partnered with scenes from the movie? Now let's take a listen to some of Hans Zimmer's scores.
Tars. Come on, Tars. We got a lot to do.
Which one is more emotional and complex? Now, I mean, obviously, this is up to you, but for me, Hans Zimmer, for still being a relatively simplistic composer, gets his tone across very well. I could put John Williams' music into anything and it would still feel the same. See? I mean, not much of a difference, at least to me. Again, I will not say that John Williams is a bad person or that he's done nothing for the film industry. Hell, it was even going in a weird direction into the 80s when synths were entering the scene, and John Williams played an important role in ending that weird fad. However, I'll never go as far to say that John Williams is a great film scorer. He's average at most, on par with the film scores of smash hit, knock your socks off, Godfather killer epics like Air Bud and Norm of the North. So that's going to wrap it up for this video. Kind of critical of John Williams. It's totally fine if you like him. I understand. His music is very catchy. I personally just do not like his music at all. Not to say he's a great guy or that he hasn't done anything for the film industry, like I said earlier. I personally do not find enjoyment in his film scores. But if you like this video, be sure to subscribe, comment down below what do you want me to do next, and if you disagree, tell me why. Next video will hopefully be on something about romanticism and how it never died, so watch out for that. Don't know when it'll come out. I'm still figuring out a schedule. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one.